If you think that if we're going to ask to be best friends, you wonder, how does a best friend treat another best friend? Well, I think if we went to the book of James, which is probably one of my favorite books in the whole Bible, but the book of James, chapter 3, if you're not familiar with that passage, you need to get familiar with it, and I'm sure your family would be thrilled if you did. Because this talks about a problem that everyone in this room has. Everyone, from time to time. We all have the same problem. And I'm going to read this really quickly to you. James chapter 3. It would behoove us all to read it every day. And you'll know why when I read it. For we all stumble in many ways. If anyone does not stumble in what he says, he's a perfect man or mature person, able to bridle the whole body as well. Now, if we put bits into the horse's mouth so that they may obey us, we direct their entire body as well. Behold, the ships also, though they are so great and are driven by strong winds, are still directed by a very small rudder, wherever the inclination of the pilot desires. So also the tongue is a small part of the body, and yet it boasts of great things. Behold, how great a forest is set aflame by such a small fire. And the tongue is a fire, the very world of iniquity. The tongue is set among our members as that which defiles the entire body and sets on fire the course of our life and is set on fire by hell. For every species of beasts, of birds, of reptiles, creatures of the sea is tamed and has been tamed by the human race. But no one can tame the tongue. It is a restless evil and full of deadly poison. With it we bless our Lord and Father, and with it we curse men who've been made in the likeness of God. From the same mouth come both blessing and cursing. My brethren, my sisters, these things ought not to be this way. The words that we use with one another. How do you talk to a best friend? How forgiving are you? How gracious are you? That needs to be practiced first with spouses. You know the old adage, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words can never harm me. That is a dirty dog lie. And everybody in this room knows it's a lie. Sticks and stones can break our bones, but listen, words change who we are. Words crush. Our very soul, our very spirit is crushed by the words that we use with one another and with our children. I was talking to a friend of mine who was telling me about an argument she had with her husband. And I don't know if it impacted her like it did me, but she said in the course of their argument, her husband turned to her and said, "You could castrate a man with your tongue faster than someone else could with a knife." You know, that's true. Our tongues are so sharp. The Bible tells us that the power of life and death is in the tongue. And so the words that we say are what determines whether we're going to have a happy home or not.
I'm not batting 1,000 at this. I have misspoken to my sweetheart. And one of the clearest examples of that was during we were not married quite 10 years, had little kids. We were sitting around our little Christmas tree, and the kids were opening their gifts.
Gift.
Yeah.
Remember, honey?
Yeah. Yes.
Steve only wanted me to buy the kids one gift at Christmas.
So they could remember what they got. So. But they had other things to open. They did, because, you know, grandparents sent things, and they went door to door in the neighborhood looking for things. So they ripped through their gifts, and one of them looked up and said, "Where's the rest of it?" And you have to understand, Annie and I had not come to an agreement on Christmas by then. And I was the Scrooge. I jumped up out of my chair. I led into my family. I looked at Annie and I said, "See, now this is all Christmas is good for. It's just meant to sow ingratitude in these little kids," and this verbal venom just started oozing out of my mouth. And I thought I was being pretty articulate. But I looked at the kids and they were, and I'm just ranting and raving. And I looked over at Annie, who had such high hopes for Christmas, being a time of joy. I looked at her, and tears are starting to form in her eyes. I slithered back into my chair. I realized what I'd done and went on through the evening. I didn't talk to her. She didn't talk to me. I was mad. She was upset. I went to bed before she did. It's unusual. I'm a night person. But I went on and laid with my back to the door. Didn't want to talk to her when she came in. I heard her shuffle into the room, and And when she slipped into bed, I thought, I need to convince her I'm asleep. So when you're falling into a deep sleep, don't you jerk sometime? You ever done that? So I gave it a good bed rattling jerk.
Yeah, he didn't need to do that. I knew he was a jerk. Go ahead, honey.
Scott, you want to turn this mic off? No, I'm kidding. But anyway, and then I started this, and my adenoids started hurting, so I had to quit that. But I laid there, I don't know, 2-3 hours. I was so mad, and finally fell asleep. And I know now why God says, don't let the sun go down on your wrath. You don't get any rest. So we got up the next morning, and as tradition had of it, several days before Christmas, we'd head toward West Virginia. We loaded the van, got in the van, took off for West Virginia to go up there and share the joy. And I got about 40 miles from West Virginia border. And all that time, neither one of us had spoken to one another. The kids knew something was wrong, and it was just a tense time. Then suddenly I recalled 1 Peter 3:7. Husbands, live with your wives in an understanding way so that your prayers won't be hindered. I realized that I had done damage to my ability to communicate with the Lord, and that was frightening. And so I first rolled the window down and threw out enough pride. They're still fixing I-64 there, where it hit the ground. And I looked over at Annie and I said, we need to have a conversation about our conflict. And she said,
I'm listening.
So I had a conversation about our conflict. That's been many years ago. And it didn't heal immediately right there on I-64. It took several days, actually. But I knew God was prompting me to get it right. Malachi 2 has a picture of this very process. Listen to this. He's gone to the temple that's deep in his heart to try once again to pray. But somehow he feels God is still not around, and he wonders what keeps him away. He covers his altar with sad, bitter tears till someone speaks words that are true. You left a hurt in the heart of your woman. Now God is not listening to you. Every man who has taken a wife, you should always beware. If you leave a hurt in the heart of a woman, God will not hear your prayers. And so the man turns and he leaves his temple. He leaves everything but his tears. He goes to his woman and he tells her he's sorry, and then suddenly God is near. Every man who has taken a wife, you should always beware. If you leave a hurt in the heart of a woman, God will not hear your prayers. If you leave a hurt in the heart of a woman, God will not hear your prayers.